Let's be real, selling in a tough economy, it feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill. But what if a downturn wasn't just something to survive, but a genuine opportunity to get ahead? Today, we're going to dive into a playbook for not just getting by, but for building a truly unstoppable sales engine for 2025. And this is all based on insights from people who are out there doing it right now.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to face the new sales reality head-on. No sugarcoating. Then, we'll get into the 3 core strategies: making the irresistible case, finding your absolute best buyers, and pricing for the downturn. And to wrap it all up, we'll see how all of this is actually a massive long-term opportunity. Let's do this.
Okay, first things first. If selling feels way harder right now, you're not going crazy. You are definitely not imagining it. We're in a shaky economic climate, and that changes the entire game for your buyers and, of course, for us.
Right, and this is the question I'm sure is on your mind. You're doing the same things that worked 2 years ago, but the results just aren't there. So what's going on? Well, the ground has literally shifted beneath our feet.
And look, this isn't just a feeling. The data backs it up. Projections are showing what they call a below-trend expansion. With GDP growth slowing to around 1% in Canada and just under 2% in the US, the economic engine just isn't firing on all cylinders.
And what's the fallout from that? Well, slower growth means everybody tightens their belts. Buyers become incredibly cautious. They analyze every single dollar, so deals that used to close in weeks now drag on for months. And those budgets for nice-to-have tools, they've completely vanished. Bottom line, your old playbook is broken because your buyer is a completely different person now.
Okay, so what do we do about it? How do we adapt? The very first pillar of this new playbook is to completely redefine how we talk about value. It's no longer about what your product does, it's about what it delivers in cold, hard results.
I mean, just look at this contrast. The old way, listing off features. Our tool has this amazing feature Y, but today, who cares? The new way is to lead with the return on investment. Our tool will save your company $40,000. You see the difference, right? One is a so what feature, the other is a wow, I need that business outcome.
This, right here, is the magic phrase. This is what cuts through all the noise. When you can literally tell a CFO, this pays for itself in 4 months, you're not asking for money. You're literally offering them money. You're completely disarming their budget anxiety before it even has a chance to start.
And that leads us to a really crucial concept: de-risking the sale. With so much uncertainty out there, your #1 job is to make saying yes feel as safe and as easy as possible for a very nervous buyer.
And one of the best ways to do this is with something called the mini commitment ladder. Instead of going for the huge, scary deal right away, you start with a tiny, low-risk yes. So, for example, an AI analytics startup could offer a quick, low-cost data health audit. It's a brilliant way to get your foot in the door, build some real trust, prove your value, and then make that final step to a full deal feel like the most natural, safest decision they could make.
All right, you've nailed your message. But who are you talking to? The second pillar here is all about surgically targeting the right people and using trust as your secret weapon.
I want you to think about it like this. A downturn creates broad challenges for everyone, but for a select few companies, it creates specific, intense, 5-alarm fires. A problem that was just a minor annoyance last year is now a we must fix this right now crisis. Your job is to find those fires and show up with the water.
So how do you actually find that pain? First, you completely remap your ideal customer, not by industry or size, but by how intense their pain is. Then, you reframe your product as the only solution. Your sustainability tool isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It's a must-have regulatory shield for companies swamped with new ESG rules. And then you run campaigns that talk directly to that crisis.
And listen, it's not just who you're talking to, it's how you're reaching them. In a world of tight budgets and deep skepticism, cold outreach, it just gets deleted. Trust becomes the most valuable currency you have, and absolutely nothing builds trust faster than a personal referral.
Now, we're not talking about just sitting back and hoping for referrals. We're talking about building an engine to generate them. You can set up a systematic program with real incentives. One brilliant tactic is to host a customer peer day where your happiest clients get up and tell their success stories to prospects. It's social proof on steroids.
All right, that brings us to our third and final tactic, pricing. If your buyers are allergic to risk and fixed costs, which they are, you have to align your price with their success.
So let's break down a few models that completely flip the script. You've got usage-based, where they just pay for what they use. Simple. Or a tiered model with a low base fee plus a bonus when you hit certain goals. You could even do risk sharing, where you take less money up front in exchange for a piece of the value you create down the line.
And here's why this is so smart. It's a psychological game changer. When you share the risk, you totally change the dynamic of the conversation. You're no longer just another vendor, another line item on a spreadsheet that can be cut. You become a true partner who's just as invested in their success as they are.
Okay, let's pull all this together and look at the big picture. It's easy to see a downturn as just, a threat. But the startups that get this right, they're going to come out of this so much stronger than when they went in.
So what does this look like in practice? Here it is, your 5-step playbook for 2025. You start every call by mapping their most acute pain. Then you deliver a small, de-risked mini-commitment. You roll out the full solution in phases. You structure the contract around outcomes, not features. And the second they're happy, you immediately ask for that referral. This, right here, is the new sales funnel. And I really want to leave you with this final idea. Tough times force you to be better. They force you to be razor sharp on your value, to be disciplined in your process, and to truly deeply understand your customer. The muscle you build selling right now will pay dividends for years and years to come.
So, at the end of the day, the question isn't how are we going to survive this? It's how are we going to use this? How will you use this moment to sharpen your approach, build that resilience, and come out the other side as a stronger, more disciplined, and ultimately a more successful company? The opportunity is right there for the taking.